All right, you want to kick us off with the stocks and their rules?
Yeah, let's get into NFL stocks. Flash the graphic, and we're gonna start this out by going over some of the rules and regulations. This is just gonna be it's, I wouldn't say brief overview, but it's gonna be an overview of all of the different things that can happen, how it's set up, and all of that good stuff. We did this last season as well, so I do highly recommend checking out the first couple episodes of last season's podcast, just because we did go over these rules. I have adjusted what we needed to adjust to make it apply to this year, because there were some examples that I used for last year that just wouldn't work. But some of the basic information. So as just a concept, the stock market is that each team has a value to them based on their record. Now, team values to start off the season is their win percentage plus $50 per playoff win, rounded up to the next 25. So, for example, because it's easier to give you an example than to try to explain that again, the Lions' win percentage last season was .706. They had 2 playoff wins, which adds 100, and that rounds up to 825. The Bengals' win percentage last season was .529. They had no playoff wins. That rounds up to 550. So it makes it easier for us if we don't have to deal with a bunch of random numbers, and we can do it even on 25s. So that's why we do that. And then the playoff wins add some money to it. And this is all obviously fake money, not real. Big disclaimer. This is not real money. In the first season, we each started off with $1,500 to work with. In subsequent seasons, we weren't sure if we were going to be adding money to the total, if we were going to be losing money, or if we were just going to be working with the current bank and what we got from season 1. We are not going to be adding any money, so it is just what we made season 1. Elijah is sitting at $3,100, and I am sitting at $3,200. So we both had some nice
Squeaked it out of me,
success. we had really nice success. Both of us just about doubled our money in one season, which I think is really good, and I hope that continues. So members of the stock market will be able to buy stock in a team during the first episode of the podcast. That is this episode. So this is the buying period. Then the market will close completely until after week 4 of NFL action. During that time, between this episode airing and week 4 of the NFL concluding, there will be no selling and no buying. So the stocks are locked in for that amount of time. You are not required to spend all of your money during the initial purchase period, but are encouraged to use at least half of the allotted funds to keep things entertaining. Teams with 0 wins will not be free after regular season week 4. These teams will have a base rate of $100 per share. So during season 1, we were restricted to 1 share of a team per member in the initial buying period. That has now been increased to 2 in the initial buying period. We doubled our money, we doubled the cap. So, for example, Elijah can buy 2 shares of the Lions. Gabe can also buy a share of the Lions. Elijah cannot buy another share of the Lions in the initial buying period. Then, last season, after the market opened, which was after regular season week 4, the limit was increased to 3 shares per team per member. This is not the case this year. Instead, the market will open after the conclusion of regular season week 4, and the 2 share cap will remain. It won't stay for the whole season. After regular season week 6, the cap will be increased to 5 shares per team per member, and that will remain for the rest of the entire season. So we had a gradually increasing last season. Now it's going to be 2 at the start, 5 after week 6, and then run with it from there. The purchase limits last year served the purpose of keeping us from losing all our money, as well as keeping us from making too much too quickly. This year, they're just kind of in place to keep structure. We kind of know what we're doing with the money we know to keep enough, because we are starting out with more. And the last thing we got to talk about is day trading. In the regular stock market, it's a thing. In this stock market, it's kind of a thing. There's no like live real-time updates to the values of stocks, so it's not exactly the same, but basically it would be buying up 1 or more shares of a team and selling it the week after you buy it. So it's not strictly prohibited, but it will be frowned upon in certain settings. For example, during the podcast recording before week 11, Matt maxes out his shares of the Rams stock at 5 before they play the Patriots. Then, during the week 12 recording, he sells off all 5 of those shares after they pick up 1 win. That's frowned upon. But something like Matt fully believing the Ravens are going to beat the Bengals in week 10, but not so sure about them beating the divisional rival, the Steelers, in week 11, he buys a couple shares of the Ravens stock before the Bengals victory, or before the Bengals game. They win, and he sells them. That's not so frowned upon because you are taking a risk. It's not buying up stock of a team that is practically guarantee to win and then selling it before they have a semi-difficult matchup, if that makes sense.
Who's
That
Matt?
was a lot of information, but yeah, that's it. That's the stock market. And like I said, I am starting with $3,200. Elijah is starting with $3,100. Matt is our mutual friend. You may see him join an episode of the podcast at some point this season. Ideally, he'll
You'll
pop his
also
head in one of
maybe
these
see
days.
him in the comments rooting for the Broncos every single time.
Yeah, no, that's not a maybe. You will see him in the comments rooting for the Broncos every single time. If you've ever seen the single Broncos fan in America, that's him. Nobody else, just Matt. So did you want to kick us off and start making your stock moves first?
I will. I will make the inaugural season 2 stock purchase. And my purchase, I'm thinking, is gonna. The first one I'm most confident in is the Chargers. I want to purchase 2 of the Chargers stock at the start of this year. So as they run at $300 a piece, that will be costing me a total of $600 on my 2 stocks.
So I also had that down as a move I wanted to make. It was the last one I had written down, but I'll go ahead and just match that right now. We'll also go with Chargers, 2 of them.
You know, I started off with a cheaper option. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bounce up and spend a little tiny bit of money on a more expensive option. I'm going to go with the Falcons at 425. Just talked about it. Weak division. I like the moves they made. So at 425, I'm going to purchase 2 stocks, hit that new ceiling that we have there as opposed to the 1, and go ahead and buy $850 worth of the Falcons.
There you go. My second move will be picking up 2 shares of the Panthers stock. They are valued at just $125. So even if I decide after the initial buying period they are 0-4, looking awful, have 6 injuries on their offense, their entire defense has just ceased to exist. You know, they didn't exist already, but they've ceased to exist even more. I can sell them off and I'd only lose $50. So it's a pretty safe investment. Next team up, I'm going to be getting a little bit more expensive. I've got my 2 cheapest options out of the way. I've got 2 other purchases to make. And the first one is going to be just 1 share of the Bears at 425.
Nice.
And that will
Are you a
take
bear
my-
lever again?
I am a bear lever again, if you would believe it. If you would bear leave it.
Horrid. Horrible.
Sorry, guys.
Hate it.
Sorry, you tune in. We don't know why. We never will. 1925 is what I got left over.
Dang. You got gotten through 3 stocks and you got more money than me. All right. Well, entering again, roughly more expensive than my Chargers pickup here. I'm going to be buying the Broncos, and that is going
Horrible
to run me
decision.
$475. Buying 1 share of the Broncos at $475.
Okay. You want to get into the snake draft as well and shout out your next one, or do you have a next one? Or
I do, in fact, have a next one. Yep, continuing with my now 4th team, not as many stocks as I have, but my 4th team selection, I'm going to be going with a pricey option, priciest yet, in fact, with the Packers at the price of $600.
wow, okay, interesting choice.
And then
you
that
wanna
will bring
talk
me
about why
down
you're
to
doing
just
that?
$575. I took a minor peek at their first starting games. As I've kind of talked over with you and on the podcast, I don't like them. I don't like the Eagles. They open against the Eagles. They then play the Colts. They then play, who else? Let me see. The Titans and the Vikings. So through 4 weeks, I like a majority of those matchups. They could be 3-1. That is valued higher than 600.
That's fair. All right, with my final purchase, final team, I'm going to be picking up 2 shares of the Bengals. It is another one that is rather expensive for me at $550 a piece, so that's at $1,100 for the 2 shares of the Bengals that I'm picking up. They are opening against my New England Patriots. And oh boy, when I tell you, my New England Patriots are not very good. So I'm going to be ending off the initial purchase period with $825 in the bank account. And I'm going to just leave that there in case my takes are awful. And I go bankrupt after this week and all four of these teams open up 0-4.
Wow, that'd be
Something.
you say that, and that brings some hesitancy to me on if I want to, delve deeper into my bank account and leave it at a number under 575. I am. I saved the least for last, and I'm buying one purchase of the Panthers. You bought two. I'm just going to do the one, and that is going to put me at 450 in my starting bank account after this. And I now hold stocks in 5 different teams, 3 of which I only have one stock in, and 2 of them I am doubling up on.
Yeah. So the change from maxing out at 1 share to 2 shares has actually affected how we spend money, and it has made us spend a lot more than we did last season, but also more. We started with more. So
Bengals and Bears is already over our limit of last season. Your 2 purchases at the end there already put you over that cap.
Yeah, I just want to talk about the Panthers a little bit. We both believe in them more than, going defeated again. I don't think they're going to go 0-17. I don't think they're going to be that bad. I think they're in a pretty weak division.
Yeah, they got to squeak some out against people not named the Falcons. It's going to happen.
Yeah, Saints aren't very good. Buccaneers are suspect with Dave Canales leaving. And then Dave Canales happened to leave and go to the Panthers. So quarterback whisperer helping out Bryce Young. Yeah.
Huge jump he could make in year 2.
Yeah. And with that, I believe that ends our stock segment. So if you are here just for the stock segment video, appreciate y'all watching. Hey, if you're interested in seeing how the rest of this podcast went, video's coming out tomorrow. So this stocks segment is coming out on Wednesday, podcast coming out on Thursday. So be sure to check that one out. Stick around for the rest of the stocks segments. Obviously, we will not be having any of these segments until after regular season week 4. So you'll be missing out on stocks for a couple weeks, but I promise we got other fun stuff going on. But definitely go check out the podcast if you enjoyed what you saw as part of this stocks segment. Deuces.